One of the dead horses I'm constantly graphically beating in front of my poor, tired students is that you don't need $100 worth of expensive materials to do a good drawing. If you understand just a couple of very basic principles, you can do an extremely convincing drawing with expo markers or finger paints. If you practice and master these extremely simple tools, then you can draw well enough, no matter what the medium is. It could be Temu acrylic paints or a stick in the mud. And those principles are measurement, value, and texture. But I want to focus right now just on the second, value. Let me show you. Consider these two drawings. The one on the right has clearly defined dark darks, bright lights, and an assortment of different midtones. And the drawing on the left is almost entirely one single midtone. If you can't quite tell, squint. Look, squinting blurs out the fussy details. It makes it easier to see the major values without being distracted by other things like color and detail. On the right, there's plenty of contrast demanding our interest. But on the left, there's no interest. Or, said another way, there's nothing to look at. There's no reason to look at this image. When you look at something with your eyes in space, it's contrast or differences between things that tell your brain that you're looking at a particular object. This whole image is just different values colliding on odd angles. And contrast between those values describes edges, forms, shape, material, space, distance. Without contrast, you have no edges, one form, one shape, one material, no space, no distance. So, all value means is how dark or light is something. And when you arrange your values to create a drawing, you should take care to present a full spectrum of those values. Somewhere, something should probably be black. And somewhere else, something else should probably be white. And all across the page should be elements in between. Let's look at how to compose a picture. Take a look at this building. If you're sitting here about to try and do a quick sketch, what would you put down darkest on the page? Probably the shadows up under the arcade, right? Okay, not a bad decision. What's lightest? Probably you leave the sky white. That's certainly a choice. It's the choice probably most obvious to the untrained eye. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you've drawn with me before, you have heard me say this. Always, in your sketch, the highest contrast area will be the natural focal point, where your darkest value and your lightest value are in closest proximity. If you leave the sky white, chances are these cypress trees here are going to be very dark, as they ought to be, which means it's likely, in that drawing, that the near black tree on the white sky would command our attention. Is that what we want? Not me. I want the focus on the architecture here. I want the sketch to be centered on walking up these steps under the shadow of the arcade. But never mind that for now. We're still thinking about our broad strokes. The sky is apparently brightest. What value would you assign to the bricks washed in sunlight? Squint at the image. Are they really much darker than the sky? What about the white limestone architrave here that's in the shadow? It's white, so it should be bright. Or should it be dark because it's in shadow? This is why I always say squint frequently. It helps you remove the noise of color. Look. See now that the building is actually a somewhat dark rectangle against the sky. Even the sun-baked bricks. Even the white stone. What about now? Here's the secret. Great artists and brilliant painters, historically, don't see this. They've spent their lives training themselves not to see this. They look at this, and they see this. Big, organic, simple smudges of dark and light. Not columns and capitals, and eyes and noses and ears, and moldings, and all that detail. All that junk is extremely intimidating and hard to draw. We don't want to draw that. But a couple of big smudgy black rectangles like this is easy to draw. We can all do that. And once we do it, we can start to pick out a few details. We can refine a little and a little more. That's the secret to doing a great sketch or painting or anything really. The entire time I'm drawing, I'm thinking about texture and value constantly, and at the deliberate expense of pretty much everything else. And the entire purpose of training yourself to see this blurry version of what you're looking at is to make decisions as an artist about how you want it to be presented. So I'm seeing this, but in my head, I'm saying, it would be so nice for the main event to be light striking these stairs and these two columns here. That should be the moment. That's the idea. And to do that, I can make the sky grayer and push the building forward in space and maybe add some birds diving down into the composition. I'm thinking, in my mind's eye, about this. This is the difference between you and your camera. Your camera scientifically copies. It merely reproduces. You, however, can do much more than reproduction. You have a purpose and intention. You have designs. No machine can ever have those things. You are a sovereign human being. You can communicate something elusive about this place with a pencil like a poet could with a verse, or like a musician could with an instrument, and like no categorical description ever could. Or said another way, counting the bricks on the facade and relaying the number to me will never be particularly compelling or romantic, or even remotely interesting. It has nothing whatsoever to do with architecture. Seeing the light trace up the stairs and strike these columns is another story entirely. So, I'll take my pencil, or washable marker, or half-eaten crayon, or extremely expensive Renaissance silver point stylus, and I'll move the whole sun and the entire sky into position, and I will reflect that decision in the design of my building. And that is why architects draw. And also, I suppose, that's more or less what value is, which was the point. So, the entire time we've been doing this horrendous Technicolor drawing in expo markers, we have been taking care to arrange all of these colors with respect to their value. So, if we desaturate the image, look what happens. That is value. Learn to see this, learn to draw this, and your drawings will improve overnight. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful.